Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Character Day. I'm so happy to be here with Dr. Lim Lai Cheng, who is the Executive Director of the Academy for Continuing Education at Singapore Management University. You have extensive experience in education, and we're gonna talk today about your great work with character education. And I wanted to let all the listeners, there's Character Day events happening all over the world, starting tonight all the way tomorrow. There's over 88,000 events in 123 countries, which is kind of mind-boggling.
Wow, yeah.
And all of you listening, I'm kind of whispering because my daughter's sleeping upstairs, so this is like a working mother moment. But all of the listeners, if you have any questions, please go on Facebook or Twitter and use the hashtag CharacterDay2016. And my team will be going through the hashtag and sending me questions to ask you, and I have some questions as well. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. So tell me about your work with character education and integrating it into the schools that you work with.
Right. Okay. So I've spent about 30 years of my life with the Singapore Ministry of Education, and we do deal with K to 12. So for the last 28 years, we've been working on curriculum, but because I've also been a head of school, it's also implementing programs to ensure that we really build an ethos of a positive culture for our students, no matter if they're in primary, secondary, or high school. But I've recently joined the university, and the university is also very, very focused on making sure that our graduates are people we can be proud of, who care about their community and sort of generally the world. And we also have got a curriculum for them, which we call life lessons. Right now, I'm working with some of the schools that are really interested in positive psychology, positive education, and we're forming a Singapore network to make sure that we're able to give resources and training for school networks that are keen to implement this within the school setting.
How long would you say in the education system in Singapore has the idea of focusing on character and social emotional learning and character strengths? How long has that been in the school system?
Yeah, it's actually always been there. Singapore gained independence in 1965. So in the last 50 years, we've made great strides in terms of educational achievements, outcomes, academic outcomes. The idea of a good citizen, a moral person, has always been there at the start, because within Asian communities, you realize that we don't focus just on individuals. We focus on communities and the nation. So it is really very much part of nation building from the early days. And I remember we used to study something called the good citizen, and we've then morphed into civics and moral education. More recently, we've introduced character and citizenship education as a kind of revised syllabus, but building in values in action. And values in action is really service learning. It's really caring about beyond your school environment, the immediate community outside of your school. And students are also encouraged to do community service, learning trips to the Asian region and to other parts of India, China, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. So it's always been there, but it's been evolving.
Yeah, because it feels like there's a resurgence. I mean, with the positive, I believe we were both at the IPEN conference.
Yeah.
And it seems like there is just a renewed energy and focus around bringing this into the school systems.
Yeah.
And certainly that gathering was bringing educators from all over the world to share best practices. So what do you think the reason in our world that there's this, I mean, I have my own thoughts, but I want to hear, especially from an Asian perspective.
Yeah, I'm speaking from Singapore, so I think it'd be useful if I share the Singapore perspective.
Yeah.
Singapore has been very successful academically, and it's a very highly stressful society. High achievement, economic gains and goals have always been at the forefront of our sort of manpower planning and educational goals. And I think when we realize that we want to build a nation of people who would care to stay and to build the nation and to be fighting for the nation when things go wrong, instead of fleeing because you have the means to do so, we realized that we do need a new focus on empathy, on caring, on respect, on harmony. And so I think within our own system, there has been a very, very clear rhetoric from the top. And by the top, I mean from the Minister for Education downwards, and even Prime Minister, that grades are not everything. Being a highly successful, competitive country as well, within an education setting, parents are always pushing children to do well academically and go to top universities in the world. But I think we have more recently explicitly tempered that with a rhetoric that says, grades are not everything, academic success is not everything. We want to see people who've got a strong sense of commitment to their family, to others, and who are able to add value to the lives of others. So I presume this would be also replicated all the world around when we see so many problems: terrorism, social disruptions, the breakdown of families. Within an Asian context, the family has always been the key unit of social coherence, social cohesion, And without a strong family, you will not have a strong nation, and the individual will also not thrive. So in this new syllabus that we've recently implemented, family time is actually a priority. Yeah, and schools have been asked to integrate as well family time into the curriculum.
I love that. I wanted to remind all the people that are listening, we're getting some questions in, but those that you can send questions through Facebook or Twitter using the hashtag CharacterDay2016. And I want to get back to, I love the fact that family time is part of your curriculum. That's so beautiful. And my family and I, every week we're Jewish, and we celebrate Shabbat, and we turn off all technology for a day, and we are together without any technology, no screens, no phone, no TV, it's just my favorite day of the week. And since we've been doing it for about 7 years, and that is this beautiful time of the week. Every week we get this very focused family time. So that's my family syllabus, but it sounds like you've integrated. But talk to me more, like you tell your teachers and parents and students, like what does it look like that it's in your curriculum that there's family?
Yeah, what does it look like? I think at elementary level is quite, it's more straightforward, So the school could have an event early morning where they will invite parents for breakfast with the children, and then they will eat together on the school premises. And then the students, the children will, of course, first learn how to serve others. They will then have a bit of sort of interaction with parents and teachers. But other schools do other things, meaning they could, have a school sort of a e-learning system where students learning for the day would be uploaded, and parents would know what the kids have learned in school, and they would be encouraged to do some reflection with these students.
With the parents.
Like today, we've gone out for a trip to the science center. What is it you've learned? Or some schools would say, we've been focusing on this aspect of character this week, resilience. Can you sort of let us know within the sort of at home whether there have been occasions in which you've raised this issue with your child when he or she has met obstacles and problems, and what would you have said, or what did you say or do during those times? So it's really a connection back to what the child has been learning in school by way of character and values, and how parents have seen it enacted in the home setting, and closing that loop.
I love that. So we have some questions.
I guess there are other ways. Reading together. Schools might introduce some storybooks, and they would want parents to try and read to their younger children. There have also been, for the older students, community projects where we would also invite parents to join in. Overseas trips where parents are also able to volunteer together with a kid. And that's really fun, because I've been on a learning trip to Timor-Leste where parents are actually with their own kid working on a medical mission, for instance. And the parents would tell me, I didn't realize my son is able to sing, or was, my son can actually act, or I didn't realize that he's so caring. So when you do joint trips and joint mission trips or learning trips together with your own child, you'd see aspects of him or her you've never seen at home before.
Beautiful. And one of
the these are just simple examples.
Beautiful. And one of the questions from the global community is, are there other countries that you look to in the education system that you really admire for the way that they do things? I mean, do you find that you're studying, I mean, you're obviously focused on your own country, but are there other countries that you look to?
Right. I do advisory work for systems across the world. One particular one is the African Leadership Academy in Johannesburg. There is a real focus there on character and leadership. I mean, the students come in at high school level, they spend 2 years there. There are a lot of sponsorships and sort of scholarships given to bright, hungry Africans who just want a strong, rigorous education for them to have a leg up, and to go abroad and study and come back. But what the school does is to build a culture where you really appreciate other people and other cultures. So they would have assemblies where, in Africa, there are just so many different national languages. They would have assemblies where they will have one or two share some basic vocabulary from their country, and everyone would then, learn a bit about the culture and the ethos, and then they'll appreciate each other. So this sense of respect for other people's culture, religion, race, cultural practices is a great start. And I love it because it is just so diverse and so colorful when the students get together for these assemblies. They will sing in their own language, and they'll teach other people how to dance and do some interesting cultural sort of greetings. I don't see as much diversity in Singapore because we tend to focus on our four national sort of ethnic or communities or race. So we have the Chinese, Malays, Indians, and all. And we would have festivals where we would celebrate that. But that can become quite a bit of a routine when you do that every year. The diversity and the spontaneity is not so stark as when I've sort of experienced that staying a week with the African Leadership Academy.
Sounds amazing. I want to make sure they're involved in Character Day next year, so we'll have to talk about that afterwards. This is another question from the online community. Developing the next generation of leaders implies building a number of character strengths. What do you see are the core strengths to develop in future leaders?
Yeah, I used to head a school, which is the biggest, the oldest, and the most the most highly selective in Singapore. So it is very stressful for the students because there's just so much expectations laid on their shoulders. And it is a school that has produced many leaders for Singapore, and the early prime ministers, presidents of Singapore, and cabinet ministers were from this school. The values that we've picked up especially, and this came through a lot of interaction and engagement with stakeholders, parents, as well as teachers, are these. The first is fortitude, F. And then we have I, which is integrity, R, which is respect, and E for enterprise, as in resourcefulness and the ability to get around issues and challenges. So we have it as an acronym there, FIRE, and we wanted the students to always remember fortitude, integrity, respect, and enterprise.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think fortitude is serious stuff. I mean, if you want to train leaders, if you want people to have the grit, I mean, Angela Duckworth uses grit a lot, but in our case, fortitude is close to that.
That's interesting. Fortitude is a really powerful word, and it's a very strong word. It's a beautiful, and it's interesting because there's so many different, like we use the periodic table. We created this periodic table.
Yes, I noticed that in your movie.
But it's based on, Marty Seligman and Peterson's work with the VIA Institute. And there's so many different words that people use, but I have not heard fortitude, but that might be my new favorite word because fortitude is just so tough and strong, and that's what you need to build to flourish in today's world. That's great. FIRE. I love it because everyone's got their own cross section of what strengths they think that people need to focus on, which I always find really interesting. And it's very telling on the culture.
Well, if you can tell a story behind it, it'd be great. Because for the school, one of the first lines is in the school song is the Promethean fire, the torch. When Stanford Raffles held the torch, and all that. So part of the school song has this myth of Prometheus and how he stole fire from the gods to to be a blessing to mankind, right? Because mankind was in darkness, and Prometheus then got into trouble because he was tied to this rock. And then there's this eagle that was meant to come peck at his heart, and he would suffer. So that is a very graphic idea of what fortitude means. You carry on and do what is right. You may suffer in the process, but you believe that you've done the right thing.
Well, I think that's really important too, is just to prepare the next generation that everyone's going to suffer. Everyone's going to go through trials and make mistakes, and have every day there's going to be something that's going to be hard, some part of your day that you're going to need to kind of push through. And then in life, there's going to be really hard things that you're really going to have to struggle with. And that's life. And it's not anything to, I have something on our refrigerator. I mean, I have the periodic table of character strengths on our refrigerator. Then I also have a list on it of kind of our family's mission statement of things to think about. Like, life isn't fair, but it's still good.
I just want to tell a little story, because as principal, we have an assembly every morning. So every morning, 2,000 kids would be seated in front of me, or we would stand and sing the anthem, and then there'll be announcements. Those are great teachable moments, because there are just so many events happening within a day in school. So they could be in for a rugby final, or there's this badminton competition. And as head of school, you have to be so aware that you do not only always celebrate success or the gold medal. And I would really make a conscious effort to say, guys, I know we lost it yesterday, but I am so proud of the team, because they went proudly to the podium and they received the award with such pride and grace. The second place, it's not the first place, but I'm still so proud of them, because, they showed sportsmanship. And so we would pick up these little stories, whether it's in class or as a school, to then celebrate the values that we want to see. And it should not always be because of achievements and because they've won the gold medal.
That is beautiful. And that's a wonderful thing to close on. We're so glad I'll go back. So glad you joined us. It was wonderful to hear your perspective. All of you tuning in, we will be starting up again tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we will have Julie Lithcott-Haynes, who was the Dean of Students at Stanford University and has written an amazing book called How to Raise an Adult. And I just want to thank you for being such a wonderful participant today. And we're really grateful to have you and hear your perspective. We have people from every continent, and it's so interesting to see the different perspectives on character and, of course, all the things that unite us. So thank you. I'm not sure, what time of day is it over there? Are you going to start your day? I'm about to end my day. Thank you so much. And again, those of you that want to ask questions as we're doing this, you go on Twitter or Facebook, #CharacterDay2016. So thank you so much, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.